39, a game that was played between Rajasthan Royals and Royal Challengers Bangalore, a game that was won by Rajasthan by a margin of 29 runs. I'm Nikhil Naz, and as always we'll take a look at 5 very crucial points about the game that will sum up this entire encounter. Let's start with point number 1, and that was the man in form for Rajasthan Royals, Jos Buttler. Jos the boss, after smashing 300s in this IPL, could only manage 8 of 9 balls versus RCB. What was really heartening to see was the fact that RCB came out with a plan for the man in form. So you saw them start the bowling with Shahbaz, that left arm spin, and even though you had the left-hander, if Devdutt Palikkal take most of the strike to ensure that Jos Buttler doesn't face the left-arm spinner, the other thing that RCB had up their sleeves was Josh Hazlewood, and he bowled to a plan. They clearly had seen videos of someone like Jos Buttler and figured out what are the areas to bowl in, and it was Hazlewood's line which was inch perfect. He bowled that line right outside the off stump and bowled it to the tee, sticking to the plan. And there were times where Jos Buttler preempted that line and tried to move to the off stump. What did Hazlewood do? Bowled a little more wider, so bowled in that particular corridor of uncertainty, irrespective of where Jos Buttler was batting, and that proved to be very, very difficult for someone like Buttler to score runs off. That is why he could only get 8 of 8 balls, and then out of frustration was out to Jos Hazlewood. So full marks to RCB to come up with a plan for Jos Buttler. After that, what followed was that Rajasthan couldn't really get off the mark. They had a middle order collapse. Then came the man who got them the highest run, and his name is Riyan Parag. He got them 56 of 31 balls, and it's because of his 56 and the 4 sixes that he hit in his innings at a strike rate of close to 180 is that Rajasthan managed 144. Now what's really good for Riyan Parag, I know he's come in for a lot of criticism about his place in the side, wasn't getting too many opportunities to score because a lot of top order batsmen were getting all the runs, but despite all the trolling and everything, he answered his critics with this very crucial knock when the time demanded, and then took his team to 144, which at that time still looked like a below par total, but then nobody expected what was to follow. Let's talk about the biggest dismissal, and this is our point number 3, Virat Kohli. Many were expecting that this was the ideal situation for Virat because of a low score. He could have taken his time and then got some good runs under his belt. There was no hurry because the strike rate at which he needed to score and win the game for his team was never going to be high. But Virat Kohli in his 10 ball stay looked very, very uncomfortable. He got 9 runs, but most of those runs came because of edges. Multiple times there were a couple of edges. One went for a 4 off bolt. He seemed like a cat on a hot tin roof. The one thing that you could clearly notice with Virat Kohli, he was pushing a bit at the ball, and that's a sign, first sign that the batsman is short on runs. He's short on confidence, and that's what you saw with Virat as well. Tried to flick one which could have been out, but then fell short of the fielder there at square leg. So all in all, wasn't a great day for Virat to remember. When he was walking off, he had a wry smile, but you could see the helplessness behind that wry smile. That was point number 3. Now Bangalore still you thought had a chance, because they had someone like Dinesh Karthik, who, like Jos Buttler for Rajasthan, Dinesh Karthik had been the man in form for Royal Challengers Bangalore. But then what happened with Dinesh Karthik? Something that we've seen very often with him, and that was a run out. There was a situation there, and what we saw of Dinesh Karthik in this season, many thought that maybe that Dinesh Karthik that was a bit edgy when he started batting, a bit reluctant to take runs, or a bit uncertain when taking runs, and those confusion would happen with him. That actually did seem like it was behind him in this season, but now it's reared its ugly head once again. There was a bit of a confusion there with Shahbaz while he was at the other end. Yes, no, and even though Yuzi Chahal tried his best to give him a lifeline because the ball really stepped out of his hand, but Dinesh Karthik was so far behind, and then was just casually coming up to the stump, already thinking that he'd be out, that Yuzi had another chance to run him out. So Dinesh Karthik was run out for 6, and from there on it looked very, very tough for RCB to chase it down. As things turned out, they lost by 29 runs. So what is our point number 5, and that is that Rajasthan Royals now have gone to number 1 in the points table, and the biggest takeaway for them in this encounter will be that the 4 players that were really firing for them, the 4 players that were key for them up until now, Joss Butler, Shimron Hetmeyer, Yuzi Chahal and Trent Bolt, all 4 of them didn't fire in this game, and yet Rajasthan found a way to win this game, and that would be the most heartening thing for this franchise. For more such content, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today. Every day